Okay, this video is about laundry. Um, they just sabotaged the only place that I had to do laundry on the 19th of November. Um, for those of you, no one's watching right now. The only people that are showing up in my comments are agents themselves. That's the only people, like, they ain't watching nothing, they just show up and comment. Anyhow, so this video is about laundry. For those that this reaches when it reaches. As you can see, my missing tooth is visible again because they broke my partial. October was a bad month. I have a lot of videos and a lot of contents that I'm still yet to get out there, that I'm still yet to publish. Right now I'm narrating for these two videos, these two particular videos, with my phone, because that FaceTime app that I use to narrate, that's what they're manipulating, and it keeps the video from uploading at all. The imposters here at the library have a problem with me, go figure. So anyhow, this laundry ordeal. Where I do laundry has been an ongoing issue. As you know from other videos, I don't have money to do laundry. I get $7.35 a month. It was $8.35, but the system docked me $1 in August following my AMHA lease renewal. I get a $29 utility reimbursement. Of it, $21.65 goes towards utilities. I do not receive help, support, or anything from anyone. Where I've done laundry involves two places, two facilities. One is Homeless Outreach and the other is CRRC. I think it's necessary to kind of give you the timelines here. I was homeless from January 16th, 2018 to December 19th, 2018. During that time, I never used either of the facilities. I started using it after I was housed. But I started using Homeless Outreach in January of 2019, and that came to a halt in February of 2019. I started using it at CRRC's facility in February of 2019 until July of 2019. I started back watching at Homeless Outreach on the 27th of August, give or take a week, to November 8th. Okay, so when I showed up on the 19th of November, there was a guy in place at Homeless Outreach. Technically a female, like one of the females that hate me, one of the female agents. She was in place to reject me, and I'll go into that some more. But you know how somebody looks at you as stupid as they can possibly look at you? That's exactly what he did. When I walked up, I said, "I'm here to do laundry." He said, like, made this really stupid look and said, "Okay, where'd you stay last night?" I said, "At home." He said, "Well, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I'm a veteran and I'm housed, but I don't have employment." And so, anyhow, when I saw his attitude, I started recording. That's the part that you're going to see.
man?
Hey.
Does he still want that? That too? Oh, yeah, he goes to
Oh, wow.
Okay. So should I refer to CRRC then?
Isn't he over, isn't he at the end?
No, he stayed. I forget.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'll have to check over there.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Well, work done, I'll be here.
Okay, so we told you to refer you to the CRRC, which is just the other doorway right here.
Okay.
They have laundry and stuff.
Why did she say?
It wasn't you,
Why did she say? Because
Yeah.
you're not homeless, and it's been, because you've been coming here for a while. She sent me an email in March about
Yeah.
regarding you.
Yeah.
And that you should be engaged with services over there anyway.
Oh,
So that's all that was.
engaged.
Yeah. You're a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess whatever's going on in your life, maybe they might be able to help you out with, as they are the VA and you are a veteran.
All right. You see that? Did you see that? These are the type of problems they're trying to get me back in CRRC's area. So yeah, they haven't been giving me a problem. Next door homeless outreach, I've been doing laundry there since August when I wrote the complaint here at CRRC, and they didn't respond to it. So this is how they're manipulating reality. All these imposters are under new impressions, so they're probably going to like act like nothing's happened. And something else, like that whole email thing he just talked about, that never happened. Like, they don't have anything in their database for me. I did an intake because my mail was coming there, and I did laundry. I come and do laundry. There's nothing else associated with it, no caseworker, no anything. And so that guy was new. He was in place for a reason.
Yes.
Laundry.
Laundry?
Yes.
You homeless?
No. I'm a veteran and I'm housed, but I don't have employment.
I had to find out because technically,
John, I'm here.
it's okay. It's for what's your name?
Tequila Oliver.
Hi, how are
Hello. Good to you.
What's the last for?
8883.
you? I remember you.
8883.
Yep.
Let me find out because it's technically not being homeless. I can't say yes, you can use it, the laundry.
Okay, well, in the past, I've dealt with Denise. Could you kind of...
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do because I can't give that.
You want to have a seat?
Sure. You see this bullshit? And they were just attacking me about laundry last night. They were just attacking me about it, using the identities of those at the facility as attacks. So what they did was they reprogrammed them to be in opposition and to give me a problem suddenly. And I told you CRRC pulled the stunt with my flag. They violated my privacy and looked into my medical records without consent. And that was when I was trying to sign up for their employment service. They have employment specialists here. And, well, I got videos on that. I just haven't been able to upload them yet. He came over, look, they're letting him hear what I said, and he came over, he just said, I just wanted to see if you were able to get services. I said, if not, can I come back? He said, yeah, we'll discuss it. Oh, and mind you, I just sent Denise my complaint, a copy of the complaint that I sent to government agencies. When she looked at me, she turned her head when she saw me at the desk. Didn't want nothing to do with it. And I had to ask him to go and, kind of get with her. And it's taking way too long. And right now they're back there gossiping about it. They're laughing. She told him about demon possession and they're laughing.
Okay. And your last four?
She was telling him what I disclosed. You'll see those videos eventually. Right now, the CIA is talking about how these motherfuckers are, that I'm telling people how they're making a mockery out of me being Christ's mother. And it's because of the suggestions that they have them under. The guy that I was talking to, he's a clown. Like, he's been a problem. I stopped in a couple of weeks ago. I'm watching them. So yeah, you see how they gossip about people when they come in here? And that's the desk clerk. But anyhow, right now the CIA, government agents, genetic engineers that are surveilling me are talking about how I'm letting people know that these folks are not who they say they are. They're aliens, extraterrestrials, demons, even evil spirits. When they let that guy hear next door, when they let him hear what I was saying over here, he lost his mind and he came over.
I need to talk to that man right there.
He realized that he did something he was not supposed to do.
I mean, that's me. That's my dog, right? I'm here to see you, but that's a damn good.
Here goes.
She said give her a few minutes. She'll be right up.
All right. And chances are she's gonna say something about the flag. That's in the other videos. I recorded the entire conversation. It was a meeting between me, her, and the employment specialist. It lasted for about 30 minutes. I wish I could attach it. Maybe I will attach the two. Because next week I'm going to be uploading some videos.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Hello, come on.
And the problem is they're trying to put me in places that I don't want to be in. If I've had a problem in an area, I don't come there at all. I had issues here. I wrote a complaint. The complaint wasn't responded to appropriately. They kept trying to direct me to the privacy officer at the VA. That had nothing to do with the policy here that was violated. The violation took place here at this location. And when I got in touch with their manager, they're trying to keep me from calling her name. Rever, female, Rever Nelson. Yeah, she didn't want to touch it. In the complaint, I spoke about covert professionals. You know what that entails. That's a possessed individual under suggestion. So that means they're being told and programmed how to feel and act about every particular situation. That's why mistreatment takes place. They have no perception of reality. None. And you know I don't have money to do laundry. Right now, the government is discussing how they have them under suggestion. They have them thinking that I'm with men and all kind of stuff, and that there's no reason that I should be using these facilities for laundry. You see the type of lies and problems they create for me? So I'm forced to have ridiculous conversation with these covert professionals. And covert professionals are in place to take something from you. They all want something. These are reptiles. Right now, Denise is taking so long because she's having a discussion with them. They're conversating with her and telling her how to respond to this situation. I should walk out. I'm so sick and tired of this shit. And something else, they kept flashing images last night of me doing laundry in my tub while they were attacking me about the laundry situation. So yeah, my mind's made up. I'm not dealing with this shit today. And no other day. Like, that's the end of both of these facilities. Right now they're flashing images of her running behind me trying to stop me. So I'm sure she came out in the lobby and act like she don't know where I went. They told her to just hang tight. They knew I wasn't going to put up with it. I told you they have future predicting technology and they play out every scenario. They knew that if they turned me away at homeless outreach, hold on. They knew that if they turned me away at homeless outreach, that they would direct me to CRRC. And like I said, all that stuff was orchestrated. They don't have anything of me on trying to place me at one or either root me out of both, because they're now aware that they can't steal anything. That complaint is all about the fucking complaint that I sent to government agencies. And that's why I sent her a copy. I sent the copy on Saturday. She has it in her email. And when she saw me, she didn't want nothing to do with me. And I told you in the past, she wanted me to only deal with her. Which means, just out of nowhere too, like, I talked about all this. I hate to repeat myself and give the same details over and over again. And they said right now the government is talking about how it's because homeless outreach was not able to allow me to inform. They weren't able to allow me to inform the homeless, which are also possessed people. They have mental illnesses. They weren't able to let me come there and inform people that I was Christ's mother. Since the complaint has been complete, I've been sharing the link or either directing people to it. So, yeah, they told the agent that was in place there that that's what I was going to start doing. They started attacking me last night about laundry, and this is the result. And the whole problem with rooting me out, not the problem, but the whole need, the whole urge, the interest behind wanting to root me out of locations is so that I don't come back. And not come back like, now, they don't want me to come back to these places once this gets out. They know I'm coming back to every place I've been to once this gets out. I'm coming back. Wherever I've had a problem, wherever I've been mistreated, I'm coming back. And right now, what I'm going to do is, in a little bit, I'm going to email. I told you I submitted a complaint to the VA, the clinic on Waterloo Road, last year, around July. I submitted the complaint on the psychiatrist that who sabotaged my records. And I didn't get a response from it. I submitted it to Mrs. Brown. When I asked, like, who did I need to get with, as far as privacy officers and things of that nature, they directed me to Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown has a copy of the complaint. She didn't act on it. She told me to, she said that they had another process, a formal process also, that needed to take place. So, with her thinking that I was going to take the formal process, she probably completely, covert professional, dismissed the complaint and didn't do anything with it. These people in these positions, they never do their due diligence. Never. No one should ever be able to submit a complaint to you and you not look it over thoroughly and make yourself informed, because the minute it's handed to you, you've become a part. So that's because she dismissed it. That's why I keep getting referred to this privacy officer, or not keep getting referred. It only took place once. That was July this year of 2019. And that was after they created the problem at CRRC. They created the problem at CRRC. They initiated it with Jim Horgan, the employment specialist. And let me tell you something, with these covert professionals, I told you they're being told exactly where to look and what to do. The minute that they find something that they can kind of use against you. They act like the fact that they violated your privacy isn't even an issue. They feel like they have something to justify their reason, and they had nothing. In the during the meeting, you know, we all discussed, like, you know, them not even having probable cause. Well, I told you I'm going to put those videos in here. Now, had they violated my privacy and he found nothing, he they would have acted like he would have covered it up. And the thing is, like, you'll see that Denise Smith, she always says, you know, well, I'm responsible. I'm the supervisor here, and I'm responsible for looking into all the cases that my employees or my case managers or social workers touch. She's responsible. If that's the case, if you were looking into things and you thought there was something wrong, you would have looked into this and had a problem with this long before July this year. I've been using the laundry service since February 2019. They start informing her of who I was, and suddenly there was a push, a need to get me out. She still hadn't checked, violated my privacy and went into my medical records and tried to use that against me in any way. She was just like, you know, well, I'm really not supposed to be allowing you to use laundry here. You know, we really don't have a way to justify it. You know, you're housed, and I know that you don't have employment. So I'll continue to try to work for you. I mean, work with you. I'll continue to try to work with you for a little while longer. But anyhow, all the details will be after this video. I'm going to compose it in about a week. I'm going to go through my old SD cards and find the videos, all the correspondence with this, and compose it. But my motherfucking days of being questioned by aliens, fucking people who ain't who they say they are over. I told you, it's a constant request. I'm gonna call it a request, because they can't demand shit of me. Satanists cannot ever demand nothing of me. It's a constant request for me to look at these people the way that they want me to. They want me to look at these people the way that they want me to. These people are finding out schizophrenia in its rawest form is someone that has multiple personalities. Multiple personalities. That means they're possessed individuals. These people found out that I cannot be possessed. That they weren't able to change my perception of reality when the memories were removed. So they've been removing the situations that took place at these facilities from my memory, and I can still recall, which means that when I look at them, I still see the devil. And they're like, I'm telling you, you know, if you don't look at these people the way that we want you to, they're going to be doing this and they're going to be doing that. So that means act like there wasn't a problem in the past. I don't play that shit. In hindsight, it was the same female from March of 2019. I actually have this information, this particular occurrence already out there on the internet. It's a part of divine disclosure, but I'll do a quick recap of it. I went over to do laundry, and she did the same thing. She gave me the same stupid look, like as stupid as she could possibly look at me, and said, well, where did you stay last night? And I told her, I said, well, I'm a veteran, and I normally do laundry next door. That day they happened to be Denise was out of the office, and the desk clerk gave me a problem, so I went next door and tried to wash. And I told her that, I said, I'm a veteran, I normally do laundry next door. I said, but you know, my point of contact is out of the office. And she said, Well, you're gonna have to work it out. She said something real snippy. I talked about it, and I wouldn't dare contradict myself because everything I do is truth-based. So it's already out there. But so in hindsight, it was the same female. The night before, she told me that she was going to do it. Like, she told me that they were talking about laundry, and they were using the identities. You know, with artificial technology, they use the identities of those they're posing as. And yeah, they were talking about laundry. I should have known that something was going to go down with it. But anyhow, instead of posing as the female this time around, she was using a guy. She pretended to make a call and reference the time frame that I spoke and ran into that identity that she used previously. Notice he chuckled and undermined it to disrespect during the phone call. And you should be engaged with services over there anyhow is an innuendo that applies or alludes to mental illness. Imagine going into facilities where the aliens who occupy them cannot stand nothing being wrong with you. It's not only that they can't stand anything being wrong with me, they know who I am. They know I'm Christ's mother. There's been multiple times where they've tried to get me, like, just in the hang of this thing. They're like, you know, we try to label, they didn't say we try to, they said we label all geniuses mentally ill. I almost cussed. But I am who I say I am. And you should be labeling any and every genius in the past that was not of African descent mentally ill, because it's exactly that. It could not be possible without a microchip. So it's not being done with the mind of their own. But anyhow, also, I wanted you to take notice of how they manipulated the response. As you could tell, I was in the questioning mode. That date, the date that he noted for use conflicted. So when he mentioned May, you know, that March or May ordeal, yeah, that never took place. There's no anything of me on file. That I told you what happened. But anyhow, as you can see in the video, I agreed and continued to probe as much as I could. Take note of how fast the mind works. When he made the statement, I calculated 2 days, the initial use and restarting use. They quickly erased that thought and that memory and that was forming afterwards. So you see me almost turn away and then question again, which ultimately changes how you argue. Of course, when your memories are being removed and they see your thoughts forming and they put a block, it changes how you argue. It changes how you respond to things. One last thing. I stated in the video that he was new. He's not new to the facility. He's new as far as who's normally there manning the desk when I come. I guess a few more details are still going to come because that's what they're talking about right now. Those surveilling are talking about how these people saw how I was able to keep clean before I started using those facilities. And they're wondering, like, they'd asked him, what was she doing before she started coming here? And they told him that I was cleaning my clothes, washing my clothes at the gym, in the shower. When I take a shower, I wash my clothes in the shower, and then I take them to a different part of the hospital that wasn't being used after hours, and hang them to dry. That stuff can be seen on Facebook. That's stuff that I've made public. So they're like, well, you know, we don't want her coming here. And we know who she is, and, you know, she be paying attention and talking about how we doing people and stuff like that. We don't want her coming here paying attention to what's going on. So they'll search and find a dummy. those that are watching me all the time, they don't show up to do certain stuff because they can't even look at me the same. These agents are in fear. They can't even look at me the same. So they're fooling the fuck out of other agents and having them show up and do what they can. They were lying too last night. They were talking about people giving me rides. No one gives me a ride. I don't get in the car with nobody. When I left, the neighbor's daughter, the people that stay beneath me, her daughter was over. I left and I come back. They'll do something like have her leave and show back up at the same time as me to try and to support a lie. I ain't never rode with her. I don't even talk to her. So yeah, right now while I'm about to bend the corner on my street, she just passed by conveniently. They also said that they were going to start making these the neighbors start acting like they were so in love with me again. They were talking about his girlfriend, how she was going to notice the difference in him, how this conversation suddenly goes from hate to love for me. So what I'm doing right now is I'm cutting through the grass. As you can see, I'm not even looking in their direction. They're at the end of the driveway. The CIA is talking about how they be wanting to see the reaction. The same shit I was talking about before. You've seen it in other videos. They want to see how I'm reacting to what just happened. They know already that some bullshit was going to take place. And they just want to see how I took it. Something else, they changed my complexion. Anyhow, I was about to talk about, I was about to put my hair in a ponytail, but I was going to talk about how they, I told you it boils down to, in my complaint I talked about that, it boils down to a population of the government who has control over others. And what they're doing is, imagine them forming an alliance. You know, there being an alliance between government agencies. You know, so they're doing stuff. And when my situation is brought into question or being investigated, you know, they're like, no, we aren't doing it. And they keep talking about how they aren't able to look into these other places. I suppose that's another government agency. They're not able to see. They don't have access to their stuff. Imagine that. Do you believe that? Do you believe that something like this could take place to the original Dominion? And they that there's a any type of clause like that's impossible. There's a head, national security. And they are able to look into everything. So they're saying that now these people are going to be investigated. They don't want me to go to certain, they're trying to get me out of certain places so that they won't look into those places they're trying to hide. They're hiding in places, and they're hiding, also trying to hide my DNA, who they've put it on. But you know, that's a matter of computer system. That's too easy. Like there's a read for where everything is allocated. The matrix. So they're going off. They are going off right now. So that's just an example of how they try to say a lot of things to kind of detour me, and they can't believe that with the parts of the brain that they've disabled, that I'm able to follow what's going on, and I have a real perception of reality. Oh yeah, that's something else. Okay, so the other thing was that they were talking about last night was suicide. Yeah, they were telling these coverts. You know, they say all types of things. You know, when they give them the rundown of a situation, they add like really extreme lies. You know, things that's going to take place, things that they're going to do, um, in order to sway their decisions. You know, in order to get them on board with the job that they're showing up to do, with the way that they're showing up to reject me. So they were saying suicide is gonna be up. Looking at these people like, you know, blah 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 this, blah 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 that. And suicide is Satan's DNA. Like Satan's people kill themselves. Angels do not. Angels do not. I'm the Holy Spirit. They sound stupid as fuck. But right now they're trying to affect the way that this information comes out. So it's coming out of order. So I'm just gonna refrain from talking about it right now. She's up the road a little now. She was at the stop sign. That's the neighbor's daughter. Once again, in my path. The library's right there. And she just conveniently passes.
8255 and press 1. That number again is 1-800-273-8255. Then press option 1. For Mission Act, general inquiries regarding eligibility, urgent care, co-payments, insurance, and appeals, press 6. If you know your party's extension number, you may dial it now. Please listen carefully as our menu options have changed. For medication refills, renewals, or medication questions, press 1. For billing information, press 2. For scheduling, canceling, or to make a same-day appointment, press 3. For flu shot information, press 4. For specialty care, press 5. For all other calls, please press 0 or remain on. One moment, please. Easier to communicate with your doctor.
This is ridiculous. These
Hello?
Yes, would you happen to have a point of contact for a privacy officer?
Not here. We don't have a privacy officer here in Akron. What is it that you're looking for specifically or trying to do?
To file a complaint.
We have a patient advocate.
Is that Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Okay. I actually need a privacy officer. I was told that you guys have one there. Would you happen to have a phone number or email for him?
Give me a minute. I'm going to get on here and I will get you information to a privacy officer, okay?
Appreciate it.
No problem. And if we do have one here and I don't know about it, I apologize in advance. I just know that when it comes to actual privacy officers, they're located at Wade Park.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to dial, the phone number is 216-791-2300, and then the actual extension is 42341.
Okay, would you happen to have an email as well?
He doesn't have his email address listed there, so now I gotta go somewhere else, so I apologize.
That's okay. Oh, and the name.
Oh, yeah, I guess you need that. Joseph Piccolo.
Okay.
It is first name dot last name, and it's spelled Piccolo. So it's Joseph.piccolo@va.gov.
Pitkao.
Picklo.
Lo. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else I can do for you, ma'am?
No thanks.
All right. Well, have a good day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, this is the result of yesterday. Real quick, this is just a brief overview of what took place leading up to laundry. I'm going to show you what happened the last time I was there, and I'm also going to show you what happened earlier that week. So the last time I was there was on the 8th of November. On the 4th of November, they were talking about laundry, that they were going to show up and do that. On the 8th, they showed up. And just in case you're not following it, they attacked me to keep me from doing laundry and put the guy from Haven Arrest in my dream earlier that day. Homeless Outreach is where I do laundry. The guard here stalks me. I made a video. They changed their policy. I made a note of it somewhere. But they changed their policy. Normally, you can put your last load in at 12:30, I believe. They changed their policy to 3. So I ended up going that day anyhow. My journal entries regarding this matter would be more detailed. That's just like something that I jotted down to take note. For example, something I recall was them talking about the niece and her legs. They were talking about her legs and how I saw them. When I looked at her legs, she does have very unattractive legs. But it's stuff like that, the truth, that they take and manipulate. They put all these people under new suggestions. And since the sabotage has been done and executed, they've been trying to get me to go back. They're telling me they want me to go back and see the change in them now that they know that I am who I say I am. So recall, they've been telling these agents that are showing up tales of schizophrenia. When people think that you aren't who you say you are, that the memories can be removed and you won't have any recollection or recall of it, they mistreat you. Like I said before, I've said this again and again and again. Like, imagine never displaying behavior that's questionable and people lying on you. People lying on you and sabotaging your records about matters that are widely recognized. It's just should be common sense almost. When you look at my records, it's obvious that I was sabotaged. I have that stuff, and I probably won't make it public until this gets out, just because I have to do way too much anyhow. Like, I've had to do way too much, and I'm just not, that'd be going out my way. I'm not doing that. So like I said, imagine never displaying behavior that was wrong. All you've ever done was tell on the government, and being labeled mentally ill behind it. That's insane. That cannot happen ever. Nowhere. Ever. I'm gonna kill these fucking aliens. Lots of them. If you go back a few and watch Divine Disclosure. Oh no, Divine Disclosure Part 7, Hold. That was initially a 14-hour long movie, and it consists of the day-to-day activity, threats versus execution, so you see that something was said, a threat was made Tuesday and carried out Friday. Inconveniences, topics, I received a lot of flack from those surveilling and remotely harassing and attacking my body, for not accepting targeted individuals. But anyhow, I don't want to get off the subject. I'm going to end this video right here, and you'll see some more videos that are associated with laundry and what took place. This next video you're going to see is actually from January 2019. This is like when I started going to CRRC. I can't say more frequently, but yeah, January 2019. The rules in the resource room at CRRC changed. Now you can only use the room for 90 minutes, and you can only do resumes, and I believe she said job searches. Verbatim. So all that searching you're doing there can't be done. This next video you're going to see is actually from January 2019. This is like when I started going to CRRC. I can't say more frequently, but yeah, January 2019. Resource room is back up and running finally. The resource room has been down since May. I've been waiting for it to open back up. The issue that took place where I had to write a complaint has nothing to do with the resource room. They're separate. Those surveillance have been saying, like, we're gonna put you back in this other place. They can't put me anywhere. I've noted that in a bunch of videos. I go where I decide, according to what I need. And they were talking about how they didn't want me looking at these other people. They're talking about Denise, the supervisor that works here. They don't want me looking at her a certain kind of way. No, I'm gonna have them stump that bitch's brain out. Once this gets out, I'm gonna have people stump her brain out. Can't change that. They were talking about how they found out that they had treated me some way that they weren't supposed to, or that they were thinking a way about me that they weren't supposed to. And that's why some of the changes were made. I told you the last time she saw me, she walked by with her head down. But me even being here, like, supports suggestions from last year. I told you that's what they've been on lately. But when it comes to me getting what I need to get done, like, I really don't. Chrissy Teigen is so evil looking. She looked like Chucky. But anyhow, also you saw on the internet up there talking about how other evils in the area are they're allowing them to hear me, but the chatter just picked up. They'll come from the back and spark up a conversation like they ain't doing nothing, but they're just trying to see who it is, where it's coming from. I showed you that thing online where it said that they were closed. This location was closed. And they're saying that now that they know I don't approve of them in no way, and there's nothing that they can do to change that they're going to shut the place down. That'd be good. They keep suggesting how fine I am to these men, that they're trying to pretend that they're in the same place as me so that they can get a chance with this, justify trying to be with this clone. When they look at me in my true identity, these people are fucking nuts. These Satanists are trifling and nuts. Just had Jim come check and see whether or not I was in here. He came, walked up, peed, and went back. And he didn't come out the normal way he came out. He came in a way where, I wouldn't see him, like, from the front. But yesterday, I told you what it feels like when this happens. Like, I can feel them aggravating the people around me. I can feel them informing them and putting me on their radar and trying to get them to act. Tequila Oliver. I'm in the system as Tequila Oliver. I had a name change legally.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I can't find you.
Yeah. Did you check it real quick? Am I who? No.
Okay, let me go. I don't know if I'm supposed to be letting you use this before?
Yeah. I told you it's been now since May. I've been waiting on it to come back up.
Oh, they let you? Cause,
Yeah.
Okay, as long as it's
But no, try to find me real quick. I guarantee you I'll come up.
Tequila?
Mm-hmm.
I got you.
It came up?
Oh, yeah, it's right there.
All right. That's all right. You see that shit? Mm-hmm. You see that shit? Okay, Denise is in. Look, the security guard ain't been coming over here this whole time. We're not over here. At this desk. Watch this. Not doing that. They told him he went another way. He didn't look. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but when they tell him he doesn't look any other time, he would have been looking right in here. I'm moving now. Coming in here because I said that he wasn't. They allow him to hear stuff and it drives him nuts. And he'll come in. When I get here, he always pulls this stuff where he acts like he's extremely surprised to see me. That supports a suggestion. It makes it appear that, there's a report that there isn't, that something's taking place. It's not. And it's just called for a mere second. And then he goes to acting like he does, nothing, but he'll stop. He'll come in here and hang around a little bit. As soon as I noted that he wasn't doing what he was normally doing, he got up and came in here because he knew I was going to come past the desk and capture on video. Yeah, Jim saw me. He made it a point to exit at the same time. What time is it? It's 3. He made it a point to exit at the same time that I was exiting. I caught a quick glimpse of him, and then I turned around and kind of, just went on about my way. But I couldn't help but turn back because there was like a split second of eye contact, and he wasn't able to say hi. That's how they are once they know that they've wronged you. That's not how they are once they know that they've wronged you. Once they know that they've wronged you, they're happy. They're always nice and kind. But when they know that you can get their ass back, when they know that you will eventually have their ass, it's different. They tend to put their heads down. Claiming that it was Applebee's, like the Applebee's owner that showed up. They really don't want me dining in these places because my thoughts, my conversation, and my material, whatever I have with me to read, is all surrounding justice. Injustice and justice. Right now they're saying something about inconveniencing me. They've been known to do that in the past. Some years veterans are able to get their meals to go. Some years they're not. Like last year was a year they were able to get them to go. The year before that they were not. There's even new people that have added themselves to the list that weren't celebrating Veterans Day, but that's just how they're manipulating these other people who are able. So, they have restaurants they like to go to, as these aliens have restaurants that they like to go to. They become veterans. And when they find out that a particular restaurant does not celebrate it, they'll use me as the reason why. They'll be like, well, Christ's mother celebrates Veterans Day every day, you know what I'm saying? And it's weird because they can get it to go either way. They can use me to get them to get on board, or they can use me to get them off board. But at any rate, it's me. So if they want to add somebody to the list, they'll go and be like, hey, because of her. Okay, now here's the situation that took place in August. It kind of, I have some videos, leading up to it, but that's just way too much. This is the actual event. This is the occurrence that they used to convince another agent to try, and that's where the innuendo and all that other stuff came from. They made them think that I have a problem that I don't.
When I said we were going to talk, it was before I actually heard from my boss, because I wanted to make sure. And so, like she said, we'll just try to work with you and keep trying to work on helping you try to find something.
Cool.
Okay?
Thank you. Okay, during this quick get-together, Jim Gargan got mad because how well spoken I was. So when he caught an attitude, they always, when one of the agents gets bent out of shape, when one of the aliens gets mad, they do something to make it feel better. So they start attacking the way that I was speaking. And as you can see, it got to a point where I couldn't, come up or form any thoughts. I took some notes on this situation because I literally broke it apart and analyzed it all, but that's not necessary either now.
Hi, I'm Jim Gargan. I work with Veterans to help them find jobs.
Okay.
And he's told me that you're looking for work now.
Yes, I am.
Could you please tell me a little bit about what you're looking for?
Like a project management position, maybe a coordinator, quality assurance, or human resources.
Okay. Do you have a resume?
Yes, I do, but not on me. I
Well,
could email
I'm going
it.
to give you my email
Okay.
address so you can email that to me. Have you been looking recently?
Yes, I have. I've actually been looking since 2017. However, I got with OMJ, Ohio Means Job, this past January or February.
Okay, so you're
so
in
I've
their
been working
system.
with them, yes.
Now, are you...
Did you send me? You didn't send it to me. Did
Yeah, you have it.
you? Okay, I can print it off.
Okay.
Thank you.
You sent it recently?
No, it's,
Some time ago?
yeah.
Okay.
Now, are you getting individualized services from OMJ? Because I know they have the different tiers of services.
No,
There's some
I-
where you're working one-on-one with...
There's someone I'm working one-on-one with. I work with a DBOB.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Who are you working with?
Marilyn Miller.
Okay. I don't think I've ever met Marilyn, but I've always had good experiences when I've dealt with the staff there. Now, are you
Alright.
seeing her every 2 weeks, or how often are you maintaining contact?
We pretty much touch bases every week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then does she send you out links to jobs that are available
Yes, she
in their
does.
system?
Yeah.
And it's been a while since I've dealt with them. What kind of positions are they sending you links for? Is it something in the area of what you're looking for?
Yeah. She's pretty on target with it. Yeah.
Okay. So just to give me an idea of what types of positions to be looking for, what are some of the most recent jobs that you've applied for?
Most recent jobs: project management, planner, scheduler,
Are these with nonprofit agencies, businesses?
businesses.
Okay.
Yeah, no nonprofits, and human resources.
Okay.
Even some administrative stuff. Like I've even applied for some of the smaller jobs, just to try and get things along.
Get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
Okay. What are some of the businesses you've applied to recently?
Oh, I can't recall by name, but I do keep a log.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll get the copy of the resume from Denise. What's your schedule? Do you have appointments or do you have obligations during the week?
No, I'm pretty flexible.
Okay. All right. And you're on Hazel Street?
No, I'm on Upland,
Help me out. I'm trying to picture where it's.
off of Grant.
Okay. Okay, so not too far away from me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. What's the job you really like to have? Because I work with veterans on short-term goals, long-term goals. A lot of the veterans I'm working with that are at risk of homeless or are homeless, so we're first concentrating on the short-term goal. Let's get something, stabilize the situation, generate some income, and then continue to look at that long-term goal. What is your long-term goal? What is the job you would see yourself being happiest with?
Project management.
Could you tell me a little bit more about project management? Like what kind of projects?
As far as the industry goes, I'm pretty flexible. I've done maintenance in the past. Yeah.
Well, could you give me an example of what business or like what kind of projects you'd like to be working on?
Mostly development, like developmental projects.
So could you
From
help me
start to finish, I'm pretty much where you get the project, and you develop, from beginning to end,
Okay. So have you had a position like that before?
Yes, I have.
And again, this is to help me out so I know who to contact. Could you tell me about the company you work for, the kind of projects you were working on?
Let's see, it would be AK Steel and Strom Engineering.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've worked on projects at both of those places. Pretty much responsible for everything. The human resource responsibility as far as payroll and employees, managing, hiring, firing. What else? Let's see. Getting collectively, I guess, getting with the stakeholders, and seeing whether or not, we're meeting their objectives.
Okay. So your position
So to
with
speak.
AKC Steel, that was in the Human Resources Department?
That was TQS coordinator, and that was in the maintenance department.
Okay. Help me, I've never heard that. TD, what kind of?
TQS, Total Quality
Oh, okay.
System.
So what kind of stuff would you be doing in that position?
Let's see, in that position, mostly I work with a lot of pre-plans, those are their work orders. We would make sure those were current, see whether or not they needed to be revised, put them out, make sure we were getting them signed off on, collectively gather, to see if there was anything else, like anything part of the process that they may have been falling short of.
So it's like quality control for processes and procedures? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That helps me get an idea of what the ballpark is that you're looking for. Is there a
Okay.
particular employer that you would really like to work for?
No.
Or let me rephrase that, a certain industry that you would like to work for?
No.
Okay. All right. And that was a steel company that you were working for?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. And the other one was Strom Engineering.
Where are they located? I think I've heard of AK Steel, but I haven't heard of Strom Engineering.
Strom Engineering is in Minnetonka, Minnesota.
Okay, well, that'll explain why I certainly haven't heard of it.
And it's replacement work. We respond to a lot of crises, companies that are undergoing labor disputes. So they may send us out. There's no telling. The locations normally aren't at home. It's a on the road type of job.
Okay.
So
Okay. All right.
I may have deleted it, so I don't see it. So can you send it?
sure, no problem.
How'd you like Minnesota?
Minnesota was okay. Most of my assignments were in North Dakota. I've had some in Harlan, Kentucky.
Oh, so you've been all over.
Yeah, I'm well traveled.
Harlan, Kentucky, that's what, coal country, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Okay.
is. Yep.
Okay. Of all those areas, which one did you like the most? Of all the areas you've been?
None of them.
Okay. All right. So Akron's working out well for you.
No, I don't like Akron either.
Okay.
I've always lived elsewhere. I just moved back here from California.
Okay.
And I moved back here from California because the government began to attack me in California and it landed me here. This is where the family and home is.
Okay, so you grew up in Akron. Mm-hmm. Where in I lived in Los Angeles for a while. Where in
Oh,
California?
okay. Bellflower.
I'm trying to picture that. I never got much out of Burbank.
Oh,
So are you
okay.
in the southern? Was that in the Southern California?
Yes, it was. I guess Bellflower is close to Los Angeles, if you say that. But I mean, I'm not familiar with everything surrounding it, and I kind of was a little bit of everywhere while I was there. You
Did
know,
you ever
but
eat at Tommy's Original? That's the hot hamburger place where they put chili on everything.
no.
Okay. I eat no meat, but that's the one thing I'd make an exception for.
Oh, nice.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, yeah, California can be rough, and I'm glad you're not out there facing the earthquakes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Are you looking at staying in Akron for the time being? Or
For the
are you
time
looking-
being,
Okay.
yes, just for the time being. Eventually, I will leave,
Okay.
but for now, I'm looking for Akron.
Okay. Ideally, where would you like to live?
Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like the Atlanta area, or
No, the outskirts, probably Norcross or
Okay.
Lithonia, maybe.
okay. All right. Well, please email me your resume.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with so many people. I tell people if you don't hear from me in about a week, if time goes by and you haven't heard from me, just contact me. You've got
Okay.
my contact information now.
Right.
I mean, I always tell people I'm not blowing you off. It's just the volume of the caseload I'm working with is so large that I may think I talked to you a week ago, and then it turns out it's been a month.
Okay.
So, but
What is your process typically like?
meet with veterans, identify what types of jobs are you looking for, and just start contacting employers that meet those categories.
Okay. So you actually reach out to the employer themselves
Yeah.
and try and be like some sort of middleman for the okay.
Or pass along leads. I'll have as much upfront contact as the veteran wants. So some veterans may not want me as an initial representative on their behalf, but say, hey, if you hear of any job leads, pass them on to me.
Okay.
Or veterans say, go ahead, knock on the doors. If you can get a door open for me, it might not be open. Otherwise, go ahead. Because I found sometimes, say I'm a representative from the VA, we'll open a door.
Right.
It makes the process more easy than if a veteran were applying cold. So. But
Why is that, do you think?
it just comes down to the character of the employer. Because I have found some employers, and this was a surprise for me, I think become a little more hesitant when they hear them from the VA because they start thinking, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some comments that employers have made, but almost like, I don't want anyone coming here and shoot the place up. It's like, I can't believe you just said that. I mean, that's like illegal for you to say that. So I think it's just some employers are ignorant. I mean, it's just human nature. You're going to have some fools out there. And oftentimes, I'm glad I have that contact because I know steer clear of this place. I wouldn't want anyone working here because this is obviously going to be a horrible environment. You've got an idiot calling the shots here, so I know not to approach. Most employers, it doesn't make much of a difference one way or another. They would be happy to hire a veteran, but it doesn't necessarily open a door that might not otherwise open. But there are some employers that want to make a point of hiring veterans. So if they hear I'm representing veterans, by all means.
Okay. How long has employment specialist positions been around?
They've had this program for a few years.
A few years. I was wondering when they came up with that and why they I was just trying to find the necessity in it, but I suppose, like you said, some people really don't want to deal with their candidates, maybe, and this might be a way to narrow it down.
Okay. Well, again, just please email me a copy of the resume when you have a chance.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
The same female that said, "Hey, I remember you." Used to sit at the desk when I come in and ignore me being there, and that's what you're going to witness. I tried to briefly catch her purposefully ignoring me. I'm just going to speak with Miss Things. Is that okay?
I'm sorry, what?
I said I'm just going to speak with her. Is that okay?
I guess.
All right. Knock knock. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, and you?
Good, thanks.
I'm here today, so if you guys want to get together.
Oh, no, not today. It has to be next week because he's not able to. That's why we chose Tuesday.
Okay, well, on the email you said unless I was coming in for laundry today, so I thought it was a possibility.
Oh, no, not for him. I was saying
Okay.
if you needed to talk to me.
Oh, no.
That's what I was saying. If you needed to talk to me in person,
Yeah.
then you
That's what I meant.
Okay. All right. Well, what time did he say?
We haven't gotten the time together yet, so we'll wait to get back from you, and then I'll reach out to him,
Okay.
and then I'll let you know. Okay?
All right.
Okay, thanks.
They found that I was having 2 or 3 cups of coffee every time I come, so they never set it up. The last few times that I've been here, it was still on top of the little cabinet, but it was empty. Now it's set off to the side. Yes.
Denise is on her way. I guess she's gotten caught up in some traffic, so we'll
Yes.
just give her a little bit longer.
All right.
And if it looks like she's going to be delayed, we'll go ahead and get things started. But it's 3:30 now, so I just want to offer a little more.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, there will be 2 takes on this encounter since I'm recording and I'm recording. But what they're starting to do right now is they're starting to make my heart race, and like I'm sensing some agitation, like from in my lower extremities. So from the waist down, some trembling and shaking. As they go over more things that they are and are not allowed to ask me, they just entertain. Once the topic of family is touched on, how I respond, and knowing that I respond with the fact that they're possessed, they're now scrambling around, whether or not they should entertain that question. Right now, they're attacking my eyes. Okay. He just came back out. He said that he was going to give her a call.
Spell your last name, please. Okay. And how about a photo? But if they have a limited time, go home. Diane, wait. Okay.
She said that's the shit. People are realizing that no one has any business rehab facilities that I go to.
Bye-bye.
Tell you what, why don't we go ahead and get started with it? Because I just don't know where she's going.
Okay.
Let's see if I any chance pulling into the park.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get another chair for when Denise arrives.
Okay.
I didn't realize how heavy these chairs are.
You got it?
I think I got it. This used to be a nice, comfortable room to meet in. They put in all
It's
these
so-
tables and desks.
Well, yeah, it's really small with all the furniture.
Well, what they're gonna do is they're gonna turn this into a computer room. 'Cause,
Yeah.
We no longer have. In fact, I'll tell you what, let me put this in the corner.
Okay.
So how are you doing?
Well, how about yourself?
You're doing okay? Let me turn off the phone.
I just brought some paper in case I need to take notes.
Oh, by all means. Just don't want, well, you have to keep it, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna set it on vibrate in case Denise is calling.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't want to interrupt to take her call. Well, thanks again for coming in. The reason I wanted to meet with you is typically when I get a referral for employment services, there's a formal process. There will be a formal consult put in. I've got to do a review of the case before I meet with anybody. But sometimes things happen more quickly. Someone will say, hey, Jim, I've got someone in the lobby. Could you please meet with the person they're interested in employment services? So I bypass that formal process. And so when I met with you that day, that Denise told me you were in the lobby, I didn't follow that typical procedure. And the reason I want to meet with you is because when I had a chance to review your case, as you know, there are notes.
There she is.
Okay. Did she see us?
Yeah. I think so. She looked in here.
Okay. Well, I'll wait till she gets in.
Okay.
Now, when you were in California, did you ever eat at Tommy's Original Hamburger?
No, you asked me
Okay,
about
then,
that though.
okay.
I remember you saying you were vegan and that
Now, I'm trying to be, but that's
Yeah,
the
but
one
you
thing that
always
I'll make
eat
the
there.
exception for.
Yeah.
So whenever I meet anyone who's been in the Los Angeles area,
And it's Tommy's original.
Tommy's Original Hamburger. And they call it Tommy's Original because a lot of places will copycat and call themselves some variation
Yeah,
of Tommy's. So
yeah.
they want to get people confused. But
Okay.
that's the original. Yeah. Would you rather meet in your office? Or
It's fine. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm sorry. I was trying to rush to get back.
Oh,
I'm
actually,
Vaseline.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
thought I could pull it off.
so you had a little distance to cover.
Yes. Yes. Whew,
You want to
sorry
catch your
about
breath?
that. Okay.
Well, and we were just getting started, and I was explaining to Ms. Oliver that typically when I meet with someone, there's a formal referral process
From social worker.
from the social worker, but that can be cumbersome at times, and there's no point in going through the formal process if someone's in the lobby. You know,
Right.
Hey, someone would like to meet with you. So I was starting to explain to Ms. Oliver that when I met with you that day to talk about getting services started, I didn't follow the typical procedure. And so after the fact, I had a chance to review the file, and as I'm sure, as you know, there are notes in the system that indicate that there are some mental health providers in the system that have talked to you about the possibility of a mental health diagnosis, and I know that you're not in agreement with that. And so typically, if there's information like that in the file, that's something that I have to address with the veteran. So there are notes in the file that
Where'd that come from?
those
That's
are,
my first time hearing of it.
okay.
You have not seen any mental health providers here at all?
No,
Oh, okay.
ever. Like, it sounds like my records have been sabotaged. I told you before, the only service I ever used was the resource room and laundry.
Well, and this is
Well, this
for
would be
services
with
at
the
the
CBOC,
clinic on
probably.
Waterloo, so not services
Yeah, not here.
Right. And what exactly does it say?
Well, you know what, I mean, we can't like show you your chart. You have a right to see your chart.
Yeah.
But you have to go to the CBOC.
Okay.
It's just a process. But, and to see the privacy officer, but hold on a minute, okay?
Okay.
Let me just pull up your chart real quick.
And that would probably be a good starting point, is for you to get a chance to review the case, just so
Yeah,
you know
for sure.
where we're coming
If that's
from.
taking place, like, yeah. Because, okay, so you said you reviewed it and what happened?
Well, there were notes from some of the mental health providers, and they had provisional diagnoses of possible mental health diagnoses, and you were not in agreement with them. And you had explained, there was a note that you had indicated you suspected that perhaps somebody had altered the records.
Yes.
So do you remember having a meeting with?
Yes,
some-
I've actually met with Mrs. Brown at the CBOC, and I
Okay.
wrote in a formal complaint. However, I have not received any response to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How long ago did you write the complaint?
Phew, it's been about a year.
Okay, but you didn't request the records to see what's in the file?
No, not
Okay,
yet.
because that might be helpful,
Yeah.
just so we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
And we have a similar,
And actually, you know what? Actually, I do have the records because that's how I went about writing the complaint. There's actually a form that you have to fill out that highlights the discrepancies in it. So I had to like literally go through the record, highlight the discrepancies, transfer that to the form, and submit it that way.
okay. And I'm not, when you filed and what's the term called, the discrepancy or the complaint, or when you filed that, on the paperwork that you were filing, was there any indication there of what the process is? Does the VA have X period of time to follow up with you?
No, not that I recall.
Okay, and you estimate it's been about a year?
Yeah, it's been about a year since I wrote the complaint.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you do have the records? You had a
Yes.
chance to go through everything?
Yeah.
So what we'll find out from Denise when she gets back in here is where do we track down what the status of the complaint is? Because
Okay.
were you petitioning to have notes retracted or an addendum? Or
Actually what I did was I submitted the complaint itself to Mrs. Brown. Mrs. Brown said that she would hang on to it, but she informed me of the form. What's your last form? 8883. But she also informed me of the formal process, and that's where the form came in. I believe, I can't recall if I faxed or mailed that in, but I didn't follow up on it. There was so much other stuff going on at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's always good to have a paper trail of
Yeah,
when you
for
submitted
sure.
it, just so we
For
have
sure.
some timeframes that we can work
For
with.
sure.
Okay. So when you submit it, and again, bear with me because I'm just not familiar with the process, is the purpose of the complaint to see if there can be some sort of an addendum put in the file, or?
The purpose of the complaint is to have the diagnosis removed completely. Like, that was my request, you know, my expected outcome.
Okay. Well, and come to think of it, I'd have to go back into the file because I don't know if they have a formal diagnosis for
No,
something,
she
because
didn't
they
have one
hadn't.
at the time, but she the way that she wrote it up, it was like alluding to that there may be, and there's, you know, like I didn't appreciate that either. You know, just to give you a little bit of background information, when I moved to California, I became a victim of gang stalking, which is like the unethical manner in which the government attacks its citizens. Agencies like the CIA. And what I was doing was I was going there to document it. for future legal purposes. And pretty much me and the psychologist, we had a disagreement. We agreed to disagree. She said that that wasn't the place to come and annotate it, and I no longer came.
It was the doctor here in Akron.
Yes.
Okay. And you said that when you were out in California, you said gang stalking?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what they call it, targeted individuals. They have a couple of different names for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who was it that was targeting you?
It's the government. What they do is they call it like some sort of gang activity, alluding to the fact that just random people decide to stalk you, but it's much worse than that. It's actually possessed individuals, and demon possession is one of those things. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but
I've seen The Exorcist. That's about the extent.
well, yeah, and see, that's like that fine line, because the way that the picture and film industry depicted to be is absolutely different than what it is. LGBT would be a good example of what that sort of mental illness looks like. They walk amongst you quite normal, however, it's a breach in the heart and mind matrix. It's someone else owning the body. That person's absent from the body. Yeah. So if it were taking place on someone, say like yourself, and it didn't have a different sex orientation, you wouldn't know. You get what I'm saying? So that's what's taking place. It's like people like that stalk. And it's actually quite a large. It's happening and taking place on a very large scale. I've gathered quite a bit of information, and I'm moving against it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with that information, where can you go with that to petition? Because it's the government.
Well, I've protested downtown. I've done that already. There actually is a organized meetup coming up this October in DC, where other people that this have happened to is, kind of getting together and rallying against it, and they're meeting with congressmen. But right now, where I'm at in my point of the process, for example, so I have formal complaints, police reports, pictures of the things that have been done. But where I'm at right now is pretty much writing the congressman and the CIA. That's where I'm at with my process. Once that takes place, I'll be able to meet probably with the mayor and move forward.
So you're going to be meeting, you contacted Mayor Horgan's office?
Yes, I have. I contacted them in late 2017, and I did not get a response. I think it's necessary to note that the information that I'm putting out is a threat to quite a few people's existence. I don't know, like I said, what your background is with spiritual matters, but demon possession is Satan's, that's his key to everlasting life. That's how he lives on, by using the bodies of others. But so you have many people in we call them covert professionals, secret professionals. But there's a lot of people in particular positions, that have a vast interest in this information not getting out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are these people within the government?
Within the government, though, they probably fall under a government branch, like say, for example, like the state. They're government entities.
Sorry.
Ms. Oliver is sharing information about the things.
Yeah, I gave him some background information on what took place in California and how this came to be, and pretty much the information at the CBOC. I guess I'll go over it again with you.
Sorry.
That's okay. What took place at the CBOC was when I got attacked in California, I came back to Ohio because this is where family was, and what I did was I went there to annotate what was taking place for future legal purposes. Me and the psychiatrist, we kind of ended up agreeing to disagree. She told me that was not the place to note it, and that's why there's no formal diagnosis or anything of that nature, because she just pretty much told me, like, you can't come here and tell me what's going on.
Well, and what you told me that you were experience when you were out in California. And catch me if I'm getting the term.
No, go ahead.
You began experiencing gang stalking, and it was by
Yes.
the government, CIA.
Yeah, gang stalking is, they call themselves a couple of things. They call it gang stalking, they call it targeting individuals. All it is the unethical manner in which the CIA, government agencies like the CIA, stalk citizens. I believe it's been since like the 1960s, you know, that there's been an attack on the free will and the free mind. Like, those are things that people have kind of gotten away from with all these other matters like women's rights and gay rights. So they began to stalk me there, and my vehicle was stolen. Right after that, they stole my storage units. They shut down my bank accounts. When I left home, I had 2 BMWs, storage units in Georgia and California, and I was taking a leave of absence from School of Psychology, and like they literally shut everything down.
And you said that there was demon possession involved in this as
There was
well?
what possession?
Demon possession. He was asking me about the spiritual part of it. I was telling him, he said, so what are these people like? Who are these gangs that following you? And I said, it runs a bit deeper than that. It is actually, it's not a organized group. These are people that are possessed. And I wanted him to understand what demon possession is. It's things like LGBT. Those are the things that are walking amongst us freely now, and there's laws in place for them to protect them when in fact they're in violation. That's a breach in the heart and mind matrix, and the person that owns that body is absent from the body. So those are the things that are taking place. I told him things like covert professionals, you know, they still exist. So there's quite a bit of interest in this information not getting out.
You said there's some vested interests that want to keep it suppressed.
Yes,
You've approached
yes.
Mayor Horrigan's office, you've approached Congress, the Congress.
Not Congress yet. That's where I'm at in my process. I'm in the process of approaching Congress.
So
but
you're doing this now?
yes.
Right. And are you planning on going to that meetup in Washington, D.C. in October?
No.
Okay.
No. I really don't have the means to.
Okay. But you've connected with people that are reporting similar experiences online, and
Yeah.
there's an online community
Yeah.
for people.
I've already protested. Last year I protested. This year I've been pretty much focusing on drawing awareness through flyers. So I pass out a lot of flyers and things of that nature.
That was one of the things that was indicated this was back in 2017, and the reason that the concern was just making sure that you were following up with mental health, and you said you didn't know if there was a diagnosis, you didn't know that there was, and there was a psychotic disorder is what it is listed.
Is it really?
Yes, which means
Okay.
that one is not necessarily able to be in touch with reality.
Okay.
Now, that was back in 2017, and so one of the, there was a behavior flag that you had on your chart for, you were alleged to have been putting some signs on people's windows, and, you know, and maybe that was one of your flyers, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, okay.
Yeah, it was
But
flyers.
whatever it was seen as inappropriate
No.
back then. But neither here nor there.
Mm-hmm.
The concern today is that there had been some a psychiatric admission, there had been some mental health follow-up, and we want to make sure that, because there has been consistently up until 2017, that we're concerned about mental health now. And when I say that, I don't mean to imply that there's something wrong. We all have to take care of our physical and mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something called preventative health, and so just getting a check, keeping a check on things and how things are going mental health wise.
Well, that's the thing. I think I explained that already. That's kind of why I wrote the formal complaint, because I had a problem with that. Like, there's nothing mentally ill about what I'm doing. That's the thing about it. Like, when you decide to tell on the government, you know, the government will try and label you mentally ill. There's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with people and how they're perceiving this information, and it will get out, and you know, it'll be bad.
And Ms. Oliver, just to clarify, she did get a copy of her.
Yes, I have a copy of my
She
records.
did get a copy of the records, and
Well, you were asking about it.
Yeah.
And you wrote a complaint, or there's sort of petition they have the diagnoses
Removed, yes.
You submitted that about a year ago. She
Yes.
still hasn't received a response to it. So I said we could take a look and see what is that process.
Does the
Well,
VA?
you would have to go to the, as I said, you would have to reach
Right.
out to our privacy officers. So
Yeah.
you would contact the CBOC and ask for the privacy officer.
Okay. And
And
once
then-
that's taken care of, then what?
And I don't know what they will do,
Yeah.
if they will remove it or not.
Right.
Because you request to have it removed doesn't mean
Mhm.
it will be removed.
Right.
But certainly anything that's to do with your chart goes through our privacy officer. And I
Right.
can't tell you beyond that
Okay.
what occurs. Again, I guess in just the overall looking at your chart and the immediate, and then you were telling me that, well, my chart must have been sabotaged.
Mhm.
Some of that does sound a little bit, rings of some paranoia. I'm not saying there's not some truth or whatever to whatever you're talking about, but it does give me some pause for concern.
Well,
And the only thing that we were concerned about is that we want to make sure that we set you up for success, and that if there could, in the slightest, be any issues, we want to make sure you're seen and evaluated, or at least following up and with mental health.
well, my thing is Jim, like when we were speaking, he was pretty much saying like there wasn't a diagnosis, but you're saying there is.
Well, I said
Yeah,
there was
That's
a-
what.
The diagnosis at the time were really provisional because they wanted to have more follow-up. So, and I have to go and look at the terminology they were using.
Mhm.
So,
But what I was saying about that is that's where I was saying the sabotage came in, because following our meetings, I've actually made those made those visible to the public. I have a YouTube channel also where I outline a lot of these matters that are taking place and taking place rather. And yeah, we never discussed any of that. And then the next thing I know, I pulled my records and then I saw something that didn't make sense. That's why I said it was sabotage.
because I think in the notes they were referring to this provisional diagnosis, and they were just going to need more time and more.
It's on the
work
problem
with
list.
you.
It's on, what I mentioned was on the problem list. Excuse me, which is a
That's
list of
interesting
all
that it's-
problems that, and because I think that sometimes there could be some things going on that you have to be open to, that could be because we do have specialists who are trained in diagnosing people, and you're not trained in that area. So is there any, there could be a slight chance that there could be
What
something else
sounds mentally ill about the government completely ruining my life in 6 months? When I first started coming here, I was missing a tooth. That was from radiation attacks. Like for them to take everything that I've ever owned and change my appearance, that should be obvious enough reason that some sort of outside force is, what I'm saying, something's taking place and something's not right. These claims are true, but no one's looking at that. They're looking at the fact that I'm telling on the government and being like, oh, whoa, wait. Because covert professionals, like I said, still exist, and people in these positions, I'm a threat to them.
Well, and where I'm coming from is, as a VA employee, if there's that information in the file, I'm liable for following what's documented.
What is it saying though? You said it's a problem list. What is a problem list?
Problems are any medical problems.
Okay.
Any diagnoses that you've ever been given
Okay.
since you've been here at the VA.
And anything
So-
that VA can provide support for.
And so one of the,
How did that information get pulled?
what do you mean, how does it get pulled?
Like
I can pull it.
when
I
you
can go in as
put
an
my name
employee.
in and
As an employee, I have access to all the records.
So it's a medical file.
So it's a
Every
medical
veteran-
file, so I can pull up problem list.
what prompted you to pull my medical
Because
records?
I'm seeing you. Because you come here and I have
To
every
use
right
laundry?
You're
So
a-
you
you're
check my medical records because I use laundry here?
tequila.
No, I'm just
No, not because
asking.
you use laundry, but every time you come in here, I should put a note in there. I don't put one in because you're doing laundry. However, we were having a meeting, and so when Jim brought up the concerns, yes, I pulled your chart, and I have every right to do that as a medical person here, so that I can know how to deal with the situation and figure out where we're going from here.
And just, Denise and I are coming from.
Is there something
we've-
funny?
because it goes back to that the email that I sent you,
What's
about pretty much, with you two wanting to meet up with me, I was telling you then that I first saw some sort of sabotage taking place, some
Right.
things that you might
You
not
just
have wanted
said
to underline then, and now it's coming out.
Well,
So that's why I
That's
laughed.
fine, you have the right to your opinion.
And again, where I'm coming from is we have a responsibility
Absolutely.
No, yeah.
with any veteran we're working with to know what's in the file, so we
Absolutely.
don't overlook something or we don't let something go unaddressed. So
Right.
for example, if I'm working with a veteran who has diabetes, maybe doesn't take his insulin regularly, I've got to keep an eye on, okay, if he's getting blood work done, is his blood sugar level at 450? Because I've seen that happen before.
Right.
And so I've got to go in and check that and think, holy cow, his blood sugar level's at 450. I've got to make sure I get that appointment scheduled with the primary care. So that's where we're coming at it from. We're not doing it to.
And not to
No.
mention, I am the supervisor here.
Yeah.
Nikki has seen you,
Yeah.
so she's charted in your chart. So
Yeah.
as the supervisor, I'm looking, I have to go over every chart that she sees.
Right.
So that's, if I'm looking at your problem list, it's because I look at everybody's problem list.
Right.
If I have a staff person that's involved with that person.
Right.
And then on the other hand, when I was telling you that I've got to justify continuing to have you come here to use the laundry, being that you're housed, so I have to be more involved in your chart.
No, that's absolutely understandable. I just thought that when it comes to pulling something like a medical record, you need probable cause, meaning that you've seen some sort of behavior.
No.
Also,
No.
now I completely
No,
understand.
every medical person in this that's working with patients in any hospital, if they are involved with that patient in any capacity, has the legal right to open that chart if you're involved with that patient in any capacity. And I say patient because this is still part of the hospital, and we refer to everyone as patients.
And again, the reason I do that is to make sure that if I'm keeping an eye on the veteran's well-being. So if there are any issues regarding primary care issues, any more specific medical issues like diabetes or any mental health issues, I want to make sure I'm aware of them so I can make sure the veteran's accessing the services available
And you have to
to
document
treat
it in the
those.
chart. You have to
To
write
treat
it in the
those.
chart.
Because if I were working with a veteran, and going back to that example of the veteran who has diabetes and has blood sugar levels that can spike to 400, 500, because I've worked with a veteran who could have these blood sugar levels that got to terrifying heights. If I weren't paying attention to that, because I meet with him, he seemed in pretty good health, I know it's okay, maybe every once in a while he sweats a little bit more than usual, but if I weren't paying any attention to that, and if I didn't go through his file, and he's got a history of not taking the insulin consistently, and not following the recommendations for diet modification and getting extra exercise, if I'm not aware of that, and something happens, and he becomes very sick, he goes into a coma, some of that's on me because I wasn't paying attention to that. So it's more prescriptive, going back to wellness.
and
So I'm not doing it to try to gotcha.
Oh, no,
I'm not doing it
absolutely
for a gotcha. I'm doing it for liability reasons. I've got to make sure I'm looking at this situation holistically and I'm not missing anything that could cause
Right.
harm. Because the worst thing I can do in this position is malfeasance. Where if I'm not paying attention to something, I let something slide, I brush it off, I'm doing the veteran I'm working with a disservice. So I just want you to know that when it comes to me reviewing charts, that's why I want to make sure that I'm providing quality care to the veteran.
And I think that it can be confusing too because we're not at the CBOC, separate us out from the hospital or the medical chart. The medical chart, every component of the VA has access to that medical chart. So now, for instance, if there's somebody in here that has no involvement with you whatsoever, then they have no need to look at your record.
Right.
But if anybody has any inch of any capacity of involvement with you, then it behooves them to at least glance at the record, see what's going on with this person, what's the history, what's what. As Jim said, just more being proactive and just
And avoiding missing something.
Absolutely.
Ultimately doing harm to
Right.
the veteran.
right.
So do you feel like,
So, what I would like to see you, seeing someone. It's up to you, but that's my recommendation, and I feel like just going through the things that you're going through, and I can understand if you don't feel comfortable with being the VA just because of the issues, but I would like to see you involved in some type of counseling. I think it would be good for you
Why is that?
because of the things that you're dealing with and all that you've been through. Because everyone's emotional health is important.
Absolutely.
And I think that
But not everyone needs help with managing their emotional health.
that's true, but that is my recommendation. That's your
Okay.
call, but that's just my professional opinion
Okay.
based on looking at your chart.
Because I mean, no, and I guess I wanted to know that because you've never seen me be anything but cordial. I've
It has
never.
nothing to do with how
I
nice you
know.
are, though.
No,
Yeah,
not at all.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
you've never seen anything that even alluded to mental illness. The fact that I'm telling on the government is why you want me to see
No.
someone.
No. Nothing to do with the fact that you're, quote, telling on the government. When I look in your record and I read some of the things and see the diagnosis, I know and feel that what should follow up is some counseling. It has nothing to do with your telling on the government. Until I came in here with him and you said that was the first time I'm hearing you say out of your mouth that you were
Right.
telling on the government.
Right.
So I just think that it would probably be a good thing for you.
Well, justice will be a good thing for me too. And when that gets out, I like to hear your part on that. I'll make sure I get a hold of you to hear your part on that.
Well, I would like to encourage you to consider counseling. You know, I'm not saying you gotta go to a doctor and take
Right,
medicine.
right.
I'm encouraging you to consider counseling, following up on what Denise said, because what struck me as you related what you've been experiencing over the past 3 years, 4 years. I'm thinking to myself, how exhausting that has to be.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine just emotionally, physically dealing with all of this on my own. And it sounds like you've largely been dealing with this on your own, because it sounds like you've had discussions with family, and maybe family aren't buying into what you're saying, and it seems like as the years have gone by.
Actually, my family was on board with my fight until they possessed him.
To the demon possession?
Yes, my family was on board with my fight.
So as you've described,
So we're talking about relatives changing overnight.
Mhm.
Those are the type of things that have been happening.
So even more to the point, from what you've described, what you've been experiencing, as time goes by, you become more and more isolated. You're dealing with this more and more on your own. And I can't imagine how exhausting that has to be. And I'm not putting words in, I'm not waiting for you to say, yeah, it has been exhausting, but I'm just putting myself in your position. If I were dealing with what you've been reporting over the past couple of years, I would be thinking like, man, this is tapping out. I can't, this is really tough to deal with on my own. And it sounds like that's what you've been doing, dealing with it on your own. And so I'm encouraging you to consider counseling, just so simply you're not doing this on your own. Now, a lot of it comes down to finding someone that you're comfortable with. And I've talked to people who have gone to see counselors, they didn't have a good experience, but then they went and tried someone else and they had a better experience. It's like any relationship.
Right. Right.
You gotta get a feel for the person.
Absolutely.
Like, when you realize, okay, this is a person that I would want to be with long term, whether it's a relationship or a working relationship or a counseling relationship.
My thing is, psychologists have been ignoring this matter since the 70s, 80s, you know, like they're part of covert, what you would identify as a covert professional. They're specifically in place to keep matters like this from getting out and reaching the media. Now it's at a point where they're actually starting to get a media presence for the crimes that are being done. The last thing I do is go to a psychologist.
If not a psychologist, who do you feel comfortable talking to? Because they have some counselors that
I do a lot of street ministry. You know, like that's how I cope with this. I do a lot of street ministry. I reach people in a whole lot of ways.
No, he's asking you, who do you feel comfortable talking to for support, not you ministering to someone else.
Well,
you receiving support.
That's kind of support for me.
But in terms of where we're coming from,
Right.
it has to be someone
This is more about
that's more like a licensed person. So if not a
Professional.
psychologist, how comfortable would you be talking to a counselor or a social worker?
There's nothing that the fact that someone's a licensed professional does not solidify their necessity for me.
Okay.
So
well, we mean trained, professionally trained.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know. And I
Because-
said that doesn't solidify their necessity,
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
But from where we're coming from in terms
Alright.
of proceeding with services, I really can't provide
Can
any
we not?
services until I get an okay
Oh,
from
really?
someone who's licensed.
Well, there's concern about, you know, some of the things that have gone on, so, if.
The
if he's
flyers.
going to- If, well, it's a combination of things that we've talked about already and not gonna go back into, but, if he's placing people or trying to place people on a job, and some of that same kind of conversation or the thoughts that, whether they are real or not, they may interfere with your ability to sustain a job. And so, to be fair to you and to be fair to the employer, he wants to, you know, I think it's important for us to make sure that, okay, you're cleared with mental health. That's
Right.
what it comes down to. And I really think that it would behoove you to have someone to talk to. I think it would behoove you, again, it's your call, to talk some of these things through with people who are trained. Because again, those are things that could really not bode well for your success in a placement, for employment. And
The good thing about this whole employment thing is I'll have so many people to sue after this is over. I won't need employment anymore.
Good for you.
So I understand completely what you're saying. I do, but I'm choosing to fight for justice.
Okay. I mean, then that's your call.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, I wish you luck.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. I do.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
All right, thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you. You too. The next time they